1-0 to the Arsenal, and finally, we secure a win at Goodison Park in God knows how many years. And I tell you one thing, if we weren't able to win today, then there definitely would have been a lot of questions to have been answered about Mikel Arteta. But give him some credit, he made some changes. He dropped Ramsdale, he dropped Havertz. Perhaps the only other thing he could have done was dropped Eddie Nketiah and brought on Gabriel and gave Gabriel Jesus a start. I mean, how do you not give Jesus a start after the that late finish against Manchester United? Well, still possibly trying to work his way back to full fitness, I suppose, because Eddie was simply not ready. Everton's defence was nowhere near in trouble, barely got a touch on the ball. We still need to have a more orthodox left back, and how we thought we could get rid of Kieran Tierney, who will be playing against Real Madrid tonight in about 1.5 hours from now. It'll always boggle my mind. But of course, it just had to be Super Leandro Trossard coming off the bench. It was he who won the Community Shield effectively for us. I mean, didn't necessarily win it, but at least he ensured that we'd go to a penalty shootout, and from there, City's kickers imploded. And that is how you respond effectively to not being given the minutes that you deserve. Was hooked off, really, rather harshly against Fulham, but he comes on, scores the goal. We break down Everton's defence. And this was a game where, a lot of us were expecting that we had to win by at least a bigger margin to ensure that we would nail down our title credentials. I suppose 3 points will always be a bonus. Can't look a gift horse in its mouth, as always. But, maybe in some respects, I suppose it's preparation for the Champions League on Wednesday. So what's frightening is that we could see Ramsdale and Havertz back in the starting lineup. I shudder to think of what would happen. Havertz came on. Didn't look so bad, but he probably looks a lot better when he's on the bench as opposed to starting. And can't really say too much when it comes to the rest of the team. Look quite decent. At least it's good to see a flat back four with Gabriel and Saliba in full voice. The 4-5-1 formation that Sean Dyche put out was never really going to score any goals. And even with Calvert-Lewin coming back, they just couldn't really find the target. David Raya had a very, 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 soft debut. And really nothing much to it. Nothing much else that needs to be said. Spare a thought, of course, for Gabriel Martinelli. Denied an own goal through some more Nketiah ineptitude, an offside. And now with a muscle injury, he had to be forced off for Trossard to come on. I do hope he will be okay for Wednesday's Champions League fixture against PSV, because I tell you what, we will need him. And this was a game where he could have really made a big impact, and you have to feel for the poor fella. I absolutely love the guy a great deal. And Saka, of course, starting, not contributing too much. And I really don't know what much more can be said. I'll get to the comments in a minute, but first, this is the link. If any of you want to click the link and join in, you're more than welcome to. And to any of you who feel really, really tired once again at seeing this rather ugly-looking mug, I've got some good news for you. Del Boy will be back next week. He's been a little bit busy with a lot of commitments. Last week, of course, he had his daughter's Sweet 16. And we have to, of course, have these call-in shows. The show has to go on. But again, this is Del Boy Gunner TV, not Manny Gunner TV. I'm just filling in for him. So next week, once he comes back, all of you will join in. Can join in and make yourselves welcome. But of course, we've got some guests in already. I will welcome the Arsenal Fan Central Man Network in, and another friend of our channel, Henry Ray Baker. Good to see you both. Central, good evening to you, son. Good evening to you, son. So 1-0 to the Arsenal. At least we didn't lose. We got a win at Goodison Park for the first time in God knows how many years. It wasn't pretty, as people have said. In fact, Ryan has actually come in right now saying that it is 3 points, but we were rather poor. And I will get to the other comments from the very beginning, I promise you. We got away with it again. When will Arteta realise that Trossard is world class, not Martinelli? And
Mhm.
look, Martinelli had a goal that was disallowed, so we need to actually give him a lot more credit. And of course, the muscle injury hasn't helped. I still think he should start next week in the Champions League if he recovers from that injury. But if he can't shake off the blues, the injury blues, that is, Trossard would be a perfect replacement. And then, of course, we could see Ramsdale and Havertz back, which will be frightening. But forget about Wednesday. This is the game that matters. What did you think of the game in question, Central? How did you enjoy watching it? And are you happy with the 3 points? I think it's fair to
Yeah,
say that, obviously we can't talk too much about winning the title just yet, but I do remember saying on another stream that if we fail to win, we could kiss our chances goodbye. But as Henry has said in the comments, I believe it's 3 more points for us, and we're up to fourth, so we're still in with a shout, if not a very big one. Central, over to you. Let's hear what you have to
yeah.
say.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm glad we got 3 points against Everton. Our first win at Goodison Park for a very long time. Most of the time, we end up drawing or getting beat by the Toffees, but not a good game. I think it was a bit poor, but not terrible. We didn't play that great, but I think Trossard's goal got really get like really was the gel card would get out of the gel card. Yeah, I think we should have won it 2-0, but Martinelli's goal was disallowed. Unlucky, he's hurt, I think he's holding his hamstrings, He might be out for he might be out for the rest of the month going into October,
Oh,
Like I hope not. Hope it's an injury scare, but I'm not, but hope it's not like hope it's not on the same level as Timber. Before we're like he's pulled his calf, but it's actually his knee. But yeah. I think nothing much to talk about with this game. But I'm glad we have to win, and we got looking forward for Wednesday night against PSV Eindhoven, and also next week's North London derby.
yeah, and already we've got Mr. Sullivan with his brutal analysis, but quite spot on. Arteta simply can't link a midfield to attack. He's stealing a living. And Aces being all pessimistic, saying, Manchester, but realistic probably because Manchester City have the Premier League title already won. Again, it's a little bit too early to say because, again, they did look ordinary against West Ham United and, of course, had to rely on a comeback to secure the 3 points, as did the likes of Aston Villa and Tottenham. I think Sheffield United and Crystal Palace will be cursing the Premier League for the decision to adopt the stoppage time policy that was used in the World Cup in Qatar. It's made for some dramatic football, but it's probably brought about more in terms of time wasting. And Henry, good evening to you, sir. As a Liverpool fan, I'm sure you probably don't have too much love lost for Everton, and you might be quite happy with another loss for your rivals, although the prospect of seeing them getting relegated, I'm not too sure that would be necessarily good for the league. And of course, well done to you on your comeback win against Wolves. Um, I wonder if you enjoyed watching today's game against Everton. And I'll get your comments on the Liverpool Wolves game a little bit later, but let's talk about Arsenal. Did you enjoy this game?
I'm glad Arsenal won. Um, but first, I would like to say to you, Manny, I've been watching your comments on Twitter, and I think you handle trolls with such class, and I think you show the right way to deal with the crap that is on Twitter because people just want to have their say and it's not necessarily nice. So I applaud you on your effortless way to
Holy shit!
shut people up, basically.
Thank you,
Um,
Henry.
because it needs to be said, there are a lot of people who want to have their say and it's not necessarily right. And I think there's a lot of nastiness on Twitter, and I think because Twitter won't step in and do anything about it, I think there are a lot of good people on Twitter, and I think that you are one of them. So,
Thank you, sir.
I applaud that. I second that.
But getting on to the game, Arsenal, I think, are not actually progressing as they should because A, they have a shite manager in Arteta. I heard that one of the high-ups, or big-ups, have left or stepped down
Yes.
in the week. So that is a progress report in terms of Arsenal in going forward as a club. But it needs for KSE to go as well, and Arteta, and some of the players too, because they are shown to be not good enough for the club and to wear the shirt. Because when you are a football player, you go to a club and you wear the shirt with pride and you give 100% to your club that you play for and with your teammates. However, I know that I call Everton Neverton because I just cannot. Their best manager, without a shadow of a doubt, was Howard Kendall. And God rest his soul. Since Howard Kendall left and then passed away, I think that Everton have never been the same since, with all the managers that have come in and gone, and the players that have come in and gone. However, Arsenal Football Club should be far better than they are being seen as. They have very good players. Saka, Trossard, who they brought in from Brighton, and Raya, who they brought in from Brentford. Sorry, Mr. B, but you lost a very good goalkeeper.
I know. What can we do?
Yeah, so I think in terms of today's game, Arsenal should have been way better and should have won the game not just by 1-0. So yeah. I think going into the Champions League next week, with one of the best teams in the world, I think you are going to struggle even with what starting 11 that Arteta puts out. But I wish you all the luck in the world that you get a result in midweek. So that's basically my review of today's game.
Well, thanks a lot indeed, Henry. And Mr. B, we are coming to you. I'm not going to speak about Ray. I definitely don't want to speak about your replacement. The less said about that, the better. I probably
should result yesterday either, man.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'm not going to.
Thank you.
And yeah, so obviously, you might have seen the game, and again, the same complaints. It must have been quite pleasing, and we are going to come to Arsenal since 1987's comment. David Raya came to Arsenal to take the number one spot, and that's how it should be. And but that's the thing, though.
You will.
There's a part of me that thinks that it was good to see Arteta making the changes he made today. I mean, if I never see Kai Havertz start again, it will be too soon. And he's probably one of those players who might look a lot better for Arsenal coming off the bench in about
Yeah.
in a 5 or 10 minute cameo than actually starting and stinking up the place for about 70 to 80 minutes. But there's another part of me that thinks that with a game coming up on Wednesday, maybe it was a case of Arteta resting Ramsdale and Havertz to play against PSV. And if that's the case, I shudder to think what would happen with Havertz. I think Ramsdale's positioning in recent games has definitely been, found wanting, especially for the United game. And Raya didn't really have too much to do today, but he certainly looks to be a very competent goalkeeper on crosses. He doesn't really try to, be like Superman and, come for crosses he can't collect. Of course, he's barely 6 foot or 6'1". And again, it was a case of several of our vaunted players like Saka and Odegaard. Odegaard did try a little bit to, feed a few decent balls in, but never really contributed very much.
Yeah.
He did have one really good shot in the, I want to say, the second half that was well saved by Jordan Pickford, who's done more to cement his position as England's number one, even if he does end up getting relegated with Everton. But I get the laughs. I get the laughs,
really
but
enjoyed
it's either. But look, I don't rate Pickford too much either. Let me tell you. But
Henry won't be sorry to see him go, will you?
I call him Picky
Yeah.
Dickerson.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can't afford to be too picky when it comes to our goalkeepers because, ever since because listen, ever since Joe Hart lost his confidence, we haven't exactly been, blessed with some really good stock.
Yeah.
And we've got this comment again from Dr. Sullivan. I call him Doctor because he's quite brutal with his analysis.
He's right,
Trossard should be the first name on the sheet. Team sheet, couldn't agree. And Eddie needing too many touches, can't anticipate where he needs to be. He's another player who seems to be a lot better off the bench than starting.
Exactly.
But Mr. B, I'm sure you must have seen the game. Firstly, are you happy that Raya got a start? And who do you think impressed you from Arsenal's starting 11 today or off the bench?
Well, first of all, before I continue, Manny, I agree with Henry there, what he was saying about you're not going to play Everton every day of the week. They were pretty poor. And to be honest, I can sum up that game by saying it was a dull game lit up by an amazing goal by Trossard at the end of the day. It was pretty poor. But anyway, getting back to that, I'm delighted with Raya getting a game and just proving how he was at Brentford, a great goalie, a fantastic goalie, and great on the ball, composure, passing, kicking it. I mean, he didn't have much to do, let's face it, to be honest, did he? So, it was only Everton and he didn't have much. I'd like to see him when he gets a real test, maybe in the Champions League if he plays in that, or against a tougher, better team. No disrespect to Everton, but maybe a bit. But when he gets up against a better team, it's going to be a lot tougher. I think they're going to have more shots and test them out more. Maybe a little.
What impressed me about Raya was there actually was a moment in the second half, I think, when I don't quite remember who was open. It could have been Danjuma or maybe even Ghana. But Raya actually saw the danger and was able to rush out very quickly to, I think he controlled it and sort of headed it out for a throw in. And he ran quickly back. And so if you have to, obviously make an interception to try to save a situation and you can run back, then that's really, really good. It shows to me that he's switched on mentally. And you've got to be switched on mentally as a goalkeeper because sometimes, Ramsdale isn't really switched on at times. He can be distracted. We do not need reminding of how in a game against Southampton he allowed himself to be distracted by a pigeon. But you've got to keep your concentration. It's as simple as that. And I'm going to sort of throw this particular question to the three of you. I'll come back to Central. I don't know if you're still there, son, but if you're there, you can unmute yourself and he should be still there. Well, I hope so. But if you're there, Central, I'll probably throw this question to you first. But if you can't answer in time, I might even go I'll start. I'll probably go in reverse order, perhaps, with
He's
Mr.
on
B and then
mute.
Henry. Yeah. So, one of the biggest controversies prior to the game was the talk of Saka having been played with an Achilles injury
Yeah,
that was lingering from last season. And one of my tweets on Twitter, and I'm glad Henry mentioned Twitter, was to literally call out uh, an Arteta fan. I
oh, he's
wouldn't
back.
necessarily call this Arteta fan, and good that you're back, Sam. I wouldn't call this Arteta fan, scum per se. I don't want to, invite any sort of any controversy. But he wrote a ridiculous article on his blog, and I won't even give him the dignity of naming that on this program, where he said that Arteta was absolutely right to demand that players like Saka be willing to demand to play every week and expect to play every week. And that is how the likes of Lionel Messi and Ronaldo end up becoming the very best. But look, Messi and Ronaldo are just outliers. They've also been rotated and they've had moments in
Yeah.
their career where they needed to be rested, where they were playing a little bit below par, even if they may have been few and far between. And if you flog a player who is very injury prone, if you try to play him more frequently than otherwise, you will exhaust him and burn him out. And the
Yeah.
difference between someone like Arteta and Pep Guardiola, who's managed someone like Jack Grealish quite brilliantly, is that Guardiola knows when to play Grealish, when to not play him, when to give him a rest. And Grealish has ended up becoming a treble winner with Manchester City, and he has more than played his role in pivotal circumstances in some really big games. So that particular post author, who won't be named but will be shamed, was talking quite simply out of his rear end. But more
Yeah.
pertinently, I'm sorry about the graphic description, but that had to be said.
Yeah, it's
And
true. Yeah.
but it had to be said. But more pertinently, we need to make sure that we have a situation where our best players need to be rested occasionally. And if you're continuing to play someone like Saka every single game, you're effectively admitting you don't have adequate cover. Of course not. You got rid of Nicholas Pepe. You only have Reece Nelson. And you don't really have a good enough squad that can help you rest players as and when you need them. And that's because of partially your own incompetence. So, Central, let me start with you.
Yeah.
Saka, once again, tried his best, but it wasn't really, his, magisterial self. And he also played against the Ukraine and against Scotland. Is he being played too much? Do you think he is carrying an injury? And if he is about to get injured, would you want to see Arteta driven over the coals for how he's irresponsibly managed one of our best players?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. Playing him too much, and maybe it's an injury we do not know. So there's reports out there like he's got like Achilles injury or some kind of pick up some kind of tear his Achilles. We do not know, but yeah, that dude is like he's super burnt out, man. I don't- like this is what happens. We're not buy some cover. We got rid of Pepe, he's gone. I don't think we're playing Reece this season. I might be wrong, but besides that, you can't rely on Saka every single time, man. He's like you can tell by so far this season, the start of this, going into the last season, going into this season, and also in the first international break of the season, he's like it looks knackered. He's not playing that well. I think he needs to rest. I guarantee you he's going to play on Wednesday and the North London derby. He's just you can't rely on Saka every single time, man. Just give Trossard a game, give Reece a game. I get it. He's our best player, but besides that, best players needs to be rested. To recharge their batteries. He's very flat. Am I worried that he's going to get injured? We've got to be very worried. It could be any game. It might be before the game, or it'd be any game now. He's going to have an injury, and then it's I'll be pissed off. I will blame this on Arteta, man. That guy is just, I don't know what his problem is. He's just an egomaniac. And if I'm not going to go into that rant about Arteta. That's another story, another topic for another time.
Yeah. And Henry, I'm going to come to you because obviously, given that you're a Liverpool fan, I'm always going to try to be respectful of you and throw a Liverpool connection into this because you've actually got a youngster yourself in Harvey Elliott who, until Nwaneri came on for his much vaunted cameo, was actually the youngest player to play in the Premiership while he was at Fulham. And since joining Liverpool, he's been used sparingly by Jurgen Klopp. And he also, I believe, now has a Champions League medal. I don't know, and also Premiership winners medal to his credit. I don't know if he played in the Champions League campaign in 2019. Maybe if he did, I'll have to look that up. I'm sorry if my research is pretty poor, but you can get my point. And
Yeah.
he's used Harvey Elliott quite well, obviously off the bench, while
Mm,
the other midfielders at his
mm,
disposal have been given more of a chance to start. And I think Szoboszlai, McAllister, and company have
mm,
helped Liverpool recover quite well, and you do
mm.
look quite good. And of course, against Wolves, you decided you couldn't play TAA because he was, I think, carrying an injury. But
Mm,
Joe Gomez ended up starting at right back, and it's
mm,
good in that way because if TAA can't quite, do the business at right back
mm,
and isn't really able to play very well, he can be rested and Gomez
mm.
can play there. And I like Gomez as a right back. I think he's a much better right back than a central defender. But you see a manager like Klopp as well, how he's able to get to manage your youngsters
Mm.
and accept that his young players are not going to be the next Lionel Messi or
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo. They have to be their own Harvey Elliott. They've got to be
Mm,
their own Trent Alexander-Arnold. And if they're playing too much and not quite doing well, that they need to be
mm.
rested and rotated for certain games. Um, that is, of course, a quality manager for you. And why do you think Arteta just isn't willing to, do the same thing for Bukayo Saka? Is it because he can't do that, or is it because he's too stupid to do that, or is it both? What seems to be the problem?
Oh gosh. Well, if I go to the game at lunchtime with Wolves, we played Kwanzaa in defence, who had an excellent game in place of Virgil van Dijk because he was suspended. And yes, we had to play Gomez, um, but we've always been lightweight in defence. But Jurgen Klopp has not always got it right with the starting 11s. We have been screaming at Klopp through our TV screens to say, what the hell do you think you're doing by playing a certain player? And yes, I mean, I know you touched on it with playing players on a consistent basis, even when they are young, because, and even if they haven't been playing in the first team on a regular basis, they need to actually be gradually brought into the first team. Because if you blood them straight in, they won't actually know what job they are supposed to be doing in the team, so they will probably go out of position and allow the opponents to get in the back. Like if a ball is played over the centre halves and you've got the striker coming in to latch onto the ball that's coming over the back top and easily put it past Allison or whatever. But players are not robots. You have to give them rest because otherwise you get ACLs, you get ankle injuries, you get hamstrings. I mean, it just, I don't know whether you, when you said, is it about stupidity? I think managers have a certain lineup that they want to incorporate each week, and those that are on the fringe and on the bench quite a lot don't get used, and so they feel very left out. And if they get left out, they are going to want to leave the club unless they are gradually brought into the team so that they can learn the aspect of the position that they are playing. But like I said, you've got to treat players with respect, and even if they are world-class players, they still need to be given ample rest, because otherwise, like you said, Manny, they will burn out, and especially if they are playing for their countries as well, they are not going to be able to give 100% to their domestic team and their international team, because you've got domestic, you've got internationals, and you've got the United Nations stupidity. So it's common sense. Treat players with respect,
Yep.
and put them in their positions that they are best at, whether it's right wing, left wing, defence, and you will get 100% out of them. And voila, it's common sense.
Common sense.
Yep.
Common sense, a
Right.
very, very,
Totally
very, rare quality and desired these days. If our Dobie
Yes.
fan base knew their football, they'd be singing Trossard's name. And Joanne Smith, wonderful to see you, Joanne, in the chat. We better
Joanne.
play Trossard Wednesday, and there could be a case perhaps for Trossard possibly slotting in on the right if he can, and then maybe cutting in with that left foot of his. Although if Martinelli is unable to recover in time for PSV, then we can see Trossard play there. But either way, I think every single one of us on the panel and in the chat are agreeing that Trossard has to play. And Darren also joins in here by saying that Saka has players doubling
Yeah.
up on him,
He does.
double teaming him and
Agreed.
kicking him. And then that's the thing. I mean, and also he's mismanaged the whole squad. It's a complete and utter mess. And also because of his incompetence, we don't even have adequate cover. So I want to get your perspective here as a Brentford fan, Mr. B, because you've got your own younger players in the team. You've also got someone like Brian Mbuemo, who is quite literally an absolute beast. And he's in a position where, as a centre forward, where he can, depending on his fitness, if it's permitting, and the nature of his position, he can start every single game and play as often as possible. And of course, with Ivan Toney not in the squad right now, you're going to depend on him more than ever. But then there are some players, because of their positional demands, you can't expect them to play every minute, every week. You can't expect them to start every week. And as Darren has said, with Saka getting double teamed and kicked very often, managers also have to be quick enough to protect their wingers. And Alex Ferguson did that with Ryan Giggs at Manchester United. So talk to me a little bit about Thomas Frank and the youngsters in your team. How does he treat his youngsters? And how do you think your youngsters have performed so far this season and in seasons gone by?
Well, to start with, Manny, I think you know my opinion about Saka anyway. I think you kind of know what we were saying about the other day when you was on that watch along with me. What I thought about that with Saka, I think he's going to be burnt out by the time he's 25, basically, because he keep being played continuously. And I mean, you saw that happen with England. They left him out to start with, but yet they still brought him on at the end. Why was that necessary? Why did he need to come on in that match? I didn't get that at all. But as what you were saying there with Brentford, we got some decent young players. Obviously, we've got the academy that's brought a few through. Another one I like is Ola Kigby. I don't know if you know much about him, but he's not long come through. He's sort of like, I think he's in his teens, maybe late teens, and he's just come through, and he looks another promising player. So we are bringing them through, but the thing with, unlike Arsenal, we haven't got the strength in depth to rest Mbomo. We could rest Mbomo because he is quite important to us. We know Tony there, especially. He's very important. But the thing is, we can't. We haven't got that strength in depth, and Arsenal have, and they can rest Saka. They could have rested him today against that. It's only Everton, just Everton. You could have played anyone else, Nelson, whatever, even Trossard over there, maybe. I don't know. But, you could have played anyone else.
But anyone but Kai Havertz, yes?
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah. Yeah, Shy Havertz, which he still brought on, didn't he, in the end? But, I mean, there is strength that Arsenal got it, but this bloody arrogant twat don't want to do it. I'm sorry for saying that language, but, he's arrogant and, he can't drop his ego enough to do it. Okay, he did make changes, a few today. But why Vieira? Why Vieira for, it should have been Jorginho maybe or something like that. Or even Trossard. But why, fair enough, drop Havertz, but why Vieira? Because he done nothing today, did he? He's so weak and useless today. Vieira, I don't get him. I don't get that. Why? Why was it Vieira and not Trossard or even Jesus? Well, Jesus for Nketiah even, that he came on late and he should have been from the start, Jesus, shouldn't he? So
yeah, I think to be fair, obviously Nketiah. Arteta probably wanted to give Nketiah another start, but again, it just goes to show that there are some players who are just better coming off the bench than actually starting, and Eddie Nketiah is one of them. This was, of course, a game where he needed to, assert himself and really try and prove himself. A lot of people have talked about the goals he scored this season and have been, singing that ridiculous song about how defenses are in trouble because he's in the room. But he had another poor game. He had another poor game today, and I think there is some defense of Vieira, and I will just stay with you a bit, but I am coming back to Central very soon. He wasn't too bad today. He did try to, get into the game, but he was, I suppose you have a point, a little bit weak. And another point here from our friend Luke is that no matter how Odegaard and Saka play, they're always going to be the first names on the team sheet. Odegaard obviously being the captain, and Saka, of course, being the star boy who is in danger of becoming the faded star boy, as you would say, Mr. B. But, I think when it comes to a lot of our players, we just don't seem to, with the exception of maybe one or two, we just don't seem to have that kind of consistency about our game. In fact, Saliba is probably one of our only consistent players. Magalhaes hasn't looked too bad. I think Rice has also slotted in quite well, but there was, of course, no party today. He's injured. And good mention about Jorginho. He probably should have come on to give Declan Rice a rest and close out the game. But it will be interesting to see, of course, if he plays on Wednesday. And Central, I'm going to come to you now because, of course, when we take a look at Arsenal's next games, obviously we've got the North London derby in the Premier League. We've got a little trip to your neck of the woods, Mr. B, when we play Brentford. We go straight down to Dean Court to play Bournemouth, who had a decent game against a Chelsea team that are quite simply flattering to deceive, although there are some fans who think that they will turn the corner, followed by an away day in the Champions League at Lens, and then a home game against a Manchester City team who Aces believes will, smash us, always to Sunday. And
probably will.
In 4 weeks' time, as Aces has said, he will smash us. But again, we are going to focus on the PSV game, our much vaunted return to the Champions League. And I do remember saying at the top of the program that Ramsdale and Havertz being dropped today could very well be a sign that they could just be rested for today and brought into the side against PSV. Now, we played these guys, Central, in the Europa League last season, and we know how decent they are. They've lost Ibrahim Samgare, who's gone to incredibly Forest on loan. Why these guys would want to abandon the Champions League to go and play at Nottingham Forest, I will never ever know. Maybe it's all about the dosh, but they're not a bad team. They obviously swiped, swatted Rangers aside emphatically, and in Luke De Jong and that attacker Saibari, they've got some very decent players indeed. They're still going to give us a bit of a tough game. So are you hopeful that Ramsdale and Havertz won't be picked to start? Because something tells me that they will play. And if they do, I mean, obviously you'll be you won't be very happy with that. But what also more pertinently, what would your lineup be for Wednesday?
Against PSV. Anyway, so I don't know. I give Ray a second game because he done well today. I be Raya. It will be Ben White, Gabriel Saliba, Zinchenko, because there's barely any left backs out there because Timber's injured. Tierney's at Sociedad. Anyway, the free midfielders.
What about Kivio and Tomiyasu?
Not. I don't. No. But anyway, in the midfield, it's gonna be. I give Rice, Jorginho. God, I'm not playing Havertz. Rice, Jorginho, and Rice. I'm just kind of stuck. Rice, Jorginho.
What formation would you like? Would you like a 4-3-3 or maybe a 4-2?
It's gonna be a 4-3-3. I have to play Fabio Vieira, man. I'm kind of blunt. And then the front three, it's gonna be Trossard, Saka, and Jesus. Depending if Martinelli is fit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're sweating on Martinelli's fitness, and because there is a part of me that hopes that Martinelli will recover, because for me, if I were to go with the 4-2-3-1, it would be, of course, the same back four that started, although we might see a few more substitutions coming in, depending on how the game goes. Rice and Jorginho should definitely be our defensive midfielders. Jorginho, with his Champions League experience, will be an asset. But if we play a 4-2-3-1, that means with Gabriel Jesus coming back, he should be able to play as a lone striker. And the big reason why we've had to adopt a 4-3-3 is because Nketiah simply can't play that role. So I'm imagining if Martinelli would be fit, it would be Martinelli on the left, Trossard on the right, Odegaard to occupy that number 10 role, and Gabriel Jesus up front with Rice and Jorginho as the defensive midfielders. Hopefully, that would work. But I have a sneaky feeling that it's going to be, Ramsdale in goal, and Havertz will find a way to shoehorn Havertz into the team. Maybe Martinelli's injury will give Arteta an excuse. So are you looking forward to seeing that happen? I can't imagine that you are.
Nope. Cards. It's like, man, Havertz against PSV. For them, it'll be a massive celebration if they beat us at the Emirates, But man, I hate Ramsdale. I'm fine. Yeah, he's been sloppy he's been sloppy the end of last season going into this season, but with Havertz, man, I've seen too much of him. The guy's not good enough. People praise this guy because he scored a winner in the Champions League final 2 years ago. It's 2 years ago. What's he done 2 years? What's he doing ever since? He's done nothing. I'm going to end this rant. Otherwise, this is going to be like a 5-hour rant, but we don't have 5 hours,
Yeah. Well, obviously, I mean, he's been very active in the chat, and now, of course, he's come on. First of all, Mr. Sullivan, good evening to you. I do hope you enjoyed your Mediterranean holiday. Good to have you back in the good old UK. But I'm sure you've been quite critical about the game today. I'm sure you probably wouldn't have enjoyed it. But first of all, 3 points. Happy?
Yeah, I suppose I'm happy. But it's still a mess, isn't it? Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, it's good we've gone up there and beaten them because we haven't beaten them for a long time. But it just seems right. We're now 5 games into the season. We're swapping our goalkeeper. I'm not too happy with the team selection. I did think it was a bit weak in the middle of the park, but we got away with it. So perhaps Arteta's managed that. I thought Vieira and Odegaard in the same team was a little bit lightweight. I might have thought Jorginho might have played instead of Vieira, for example. And then Jesus left on the bench. I think he can cause a lot more mayhem than Eddie, who, let's be honest, Eddie looked lively in the first 10 minutes. He was doing backflips and looking interested, but we all know he needs too many touches on the ball. And as Mr. Neville pointed out on the commentary in the pub where I was watching, he doesn't know where to be when these crosses come in. He's not sliding in. He's not. Somebody ain't someone at the club teaching him this. This is just basics. That Eddie wants to be a striker and wants to be getting on the end of things, but it don't seem like he knows where to be and when to be there. You know. So just want to just touch briefly on all this stuff about Twitter and everything. Yesterday on Facebook, I got called to see you next Tuesday. Now, I pointed out to the person who did that to me, I hope they feel quite comfortable doing that behind a device. And I question them, you know, would you do that to someone, you know, in front of them, for example? I can't get my head round how people think they've got a God-given right to call people swearing names like that on.
I haven't.
You know, even if you're disagreed with, and let's be honest, we all put our opinions across, and sometimes, even I admit, sometimes I am a little bit sort of forthright and a little bit harsh and a little bit. I don't dress up what I say in the comments.
Being honest, mate. Being honest.
I'm almost like a bit of a big head, really, but it's only because I've been watching the game since 1983, and it almost smacks as if when these people start swearing and abusing, that they're losing arguments, you know. Now, I'm quite comfortable with swearing and abusing sometimes. I'm not going to paint myself out to be a saint at all, but online, I mean, come on, let's get real. But anyway, that's enough of that. So Raya come in, did a good job for us. But again, 5 games in, we're changing our goalie. So what happens now on Wednesday? Yeah, it just seems a bit chaotic to me. And Trossard, unbelievable. And before I get on to him, I just want to say about Martinelli. He slotted that goal. He did well. I'll give Martinelli a lot of stick. He is a good player. I accept he is a good player, but I just feel that he's out there on the wing, much like Saka. He's always got 2 people doubling up on him. He's not getting past them. So this is not working. Arteta's come to a stage now where he's got Saka and Martinelli on the wings. They're going down the wings, and both of them have got 2 players in front of them, and then they get stopped. So what are you going to do next, Arteta? What are you going to, you know, get around that, for example? It's not working. I just feel when Trossard come on because of that injury, he has got a lot of technical skills, and I think he's worth a lot more than 30 million. I thought the offside goal decision was a joke. Right? Are we going back to 10 seasons ago when someone over the other side of the pitch, if they're in an offside position, it gets cancelled and that's an offside goal? Because it just seems to be, for the coincidence of Everton Football Club, today they all decided to rewind the rule book. I can't get my head around it.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly looked to be a rather controversial call, and even you, Mr. B, have agreed there that VAR, you know, completely mucked up. But look, an Arsenal of old would have, you know, sat and stewed about that. But you know, I suppose you have to give us credit for continuing to huff and puff, and eventually, thanks to Mr. Trossard, we blew their house down. So yeah. You know, it was ugly. Let's make it crystal clear. I mean, we certainly did try, but we could have done a bit better. But at the end of the day, 3 points is 3 points. And Josh, let me just come to you. Welcome to Del Boy Gunner TV. Good to have you on.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and what did you think of the game, and how confident are you for our first Champions League game in several years against PSV on Wednesday?
One word: ugly. Ugly. Honestly, I can't lie. Everton was stubborn. They were very good in the first half. They kept us out. We had so many chances. We could have put them away, but I can't lie. Obviously we eventually got the winner for Trossard, my guy. In terms of PS, was it? Wait, is it PSV? You said.
Yes, PSV.
Yeah, PSV. Okay, in terms of PSV, uh, I would start a strong team. I would start obviously Ramsdale. I'll make a few changes. Obviously, bring in Jesus. Uh, bring in Havertz. I think I'll rest Odegaard and I'll play Vieira only because I want Odegaard fit for North London Derby. I'll also rest Saka, keep him fit for North London Derby. I'll rest Martinelli, keep him fit for North London Derby. So my front three would be Trossard on the left, Reece Nelson on the right, Jesus for the middle. Then you got Vieira, Declan, and Havertz, and obviously the back line: Zinni, Gabby, Saliba, and Ben White, and obviously Ramsey and goal. That would be my team for PSV, and obviously Tottenham's Tottenham. But I am confident, but I'm gonna take it game by game. Just take it one game at a time. Next game's PSV, and I'm actually looking forward to it. Because me personally, as an Arsenal fan, I've never seen Arsenal in Champions League whatever. I'm a young fan. I'm 19, so I've not seen Arsenal in the league or compete in Champions League ever. So it will be fascinating to see how we do, and hopefully we can go all the way and win Champions League. That's my dream. Obviously, I've done it so many times on Kramer, but hopefully this time will happen in real life. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But the first test is against PSV. I believe it's at home, right? Or was it away?
It is at home. It is at home. And
Yeah.
our second game will be against Lens away. But, we have a home match to open up our Champions League campaign, and
Yeah.
should be fun. I'm looking forward to staying up to watch
Yeah.
that. But obviously, Darren, I'll just quickly get your thoughts on that. What would be your starting lineup? And there's a part of me. Well, Josh has had to. Hopefully, he comes back so I can shout him out a little bit. But obviously, I was talking about how one of the reasons why we had to change our formation from a 4-2-3-1 to a 4-3-3 was because with Jesus being injured, Eddie Nketiah simply couldn't play as the lone striker, and it would either be him or having to play a false nine. But with Jesus coming back into the team, I'm sure we have to, consider starting him again. And so if we were to start him against PSV, would you switch to a 4-2-3-1 formation, which has served us well, which could, provide a lot more depth in midfield and maybe some help for our wingers? Or because, the 4-3-3 does leave us light, especially if we have to play, Havertz or Vieira or what have you.
Eddie did. Jesus did well at the start of last season up front in that 4-2-3-1. I think you've got to go with experience a bit. Eddie is just. Can you see him spearheading our Champions League assault? I just can't. He might get away with it in the Premier League, but I don't think he'll get away with it in the Champions League. So I would probably start with Jesus, and as I say, first names on the team sheet are going to be Saliba, Rice, Trossard for me. Those three are the standout people I just cannot leave out of the team. I think now he's changed David Ray. I think he's got to stick with that. I saw it on the TV after the game. They were saying, well, will Ramsdale come back on Wednesday? Why would you do that? Rest the goalkeeper for life. It's balmy. Formation-wise, 11 players are on the pitch, aren't they? It's you just get them on there. I think if we got Declan Rice in central midfield, perhaps I'd be tempted to pair up Rice and Jorginho to give us a bit of protection in front of a back four. I thought Zinchenko didn't go charging up the pitch as much today. Don't know what other people think about that, but I didn't see him sort of get dragged out. He didn't have a too bad game today, Zinchenko. Position.
Yeah, quite a good game, Zinchenko, today.
Yeah, and I saw him against Fulham, and he's not a bad player. It's
not
just,
a defender.
he just has these rush. His directions are, go into midfield, go up front, and it's just balmy. He can play a good ball in. But I noticed Trossard's movement when he come on in the second half, that one where he crossed it in and there was no one in there following it up. he just sprung. They didn't have two people on Trossard because the run he made out wide, he sort of bent his run around the back four and got in round the back, whereas Martinelli just don't seem to be either doing that or perhaps being told to do that. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, 4-2-3-1. Yeah, let's do it against the PSV. Keep White and Zinchenko as the fullback, Saliba, Gabriel, Raya at the back. I'll probably go with Rice and Jorginho. Probably Odegaard in there as well, Saka, Trossard, and I'll have Jesus as well. And I would start Martinelli on the bench. I'm sorry. I know he's a good player. I get all that, but I just don't see him being anywhere near Trossard's levels.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very big call from someone who's been watching football for 40 years now. Very well done to you indeed. And of course, after the PSV game, and I think we are going to start to wrap it up a little bit because we'll probably just keep it a little bit short. Can't really think of too much else to do. But we got the small matter, of course, of the North London derby, where we're coming up against a Tottenham team that are actually doing quite well. But of course, let's be blunt. They were lucky AF to yesterday against Sheffield United. All that stoppage time, a remnant of what took place in Qatar, with so much stoppage time being awarded, possibly to account for more stoppages to take place within stoppage time. I think it's just personally, I think it's just given the players more room to indulge in time wasting and cynical play. And it's just unfortunate in many ways, but you take the rough with the smooth. Sheffield United do have reason to feel hard done by, but I'll tell you what, watching the spirit with which they're playing, they actually might give themselves a very good chance of staying up this season. Certainly with Wes Foderingham in decent form. If several of our much vaunted keepers aren't able to cut the mustard, I don't see any reason why Foderingham can't present himself as a possible late candidate to join the Euro squad should we qualify. But back to Arsenal matters, we've got the Tottenham game. Ange Postecoglou, manager of the month. They're playing some excellent football. Central, should we be afraid?
It's kind of I don't know, yeah, I think with the Tottenham team, I think they've done well. I think that luck will run out soon. I don't think it's this next week, probably the week after, because I'm really shocked. I'm really shocked they've done well this season so far this season. Ever since when Hurricane left, went sold from going to Bayern Munich, you thought they're gonna drop off, but no, I think they're doing well without Hurricane. You got Son. I think he's the only good player they had because Richarlison is pony. Their defender, Mickey van den Ven, he's like a good defender, and I think they got that for Corio. I don't know. This is kind of I don't see we're losing to Tottenham, but I don't think we're gonna beat them. I think if we beat them, we'll probably be 2-1 or something. But I don't see them getting the win out. We'll probably get a draw. If I predict this first North London derby of the season, I'm going to give it. I think it's going to be like a 1-1 draw.
Ooh, a very big call. But one thing which I can say, though, is that so far we have been able to make the best use of our home court advantage. And I did mention the criminal stoppage time. We had to use that criminal stoppage time to beat a Manchester United team that were dangerous on the counter-attack, but didn't really offer too very much other than that. And Henry, I'm going to come to you now with a little bit of a discussion because I mentioned that, I saw you over there. I saw you giving the thumbs down. Of course, bear in mind, Liverpool are yet to play Tottenham this season, but I'd like to sort of pick your brain. What makes you so confident that Spurs are going to come a cropper against us and possibly against you when you come up against them?
Another loaded question. You must like me a lot, Manny. Oh God. Right. With Tottenham, I have a friend who is a season ticket holder with Spurs, although I call them Spursy because they always seem to come a cropper. They can't always get across the line. And even though Harry Kane has left to go to Bayern and is now setting Bundesliga alight with all his goals that he's been scoring, and the name that I will not repeat ever online begins with an R, who is a nasty human being who can't play football and thinks he is God's gift to women with his flouting his persona. And what he did to Liverpool player in the centre circle against Thiago was absolutely horrendous. But I will say this, I have a lot of Arsenal fans who I will stand by because I think they are a great bunch of beings, but I cannot stand Spurs because their last win, I believe, was many eons ago with a trophy. They were in the UCL but didn't do very well at all. Or was it Europa League? But anyway, I still don't think that they will do well because of the fact that they were heavily relying on Harry Kane to be scoring time after time after time again. And now they haven't got him. Everybody's now having to step up. So I think that Arsenal do have enough to overpower Spurs and they will get the win. And I think it will be a testy tie because of being London clubs, like a 2-1 win. I think Spurs will still score, but I think you will just scrape past with maybe Saka, and as long as you play Trossard as well, you should get over the line with like a 2-1 win. And what's the other part? The other question, part of the question.
Yeah, a part of the question. I almost forgotten about the second part because obviously you've got to play them as well coming up,
okay,
and So how do you? I'm sure you'll think you'll do well against them, but I would like you to sort of try and give Spurs a little bit of credit. James Maddison, as an Arsenal fan, I think Central can agree with me, and maybe Darren as well, that for all of the dosh we shelled out for Kai Havertz, we very well could easily have bought him instead, and he would have been an asset. But do you think he'll, have a decent game against Liverpool, or what? Or do you think he'll struggle? And what sort of a plan do you think Klopp might have for him?
Well, Maddison stayed at Leicester too long. He should have left and joined a better club. Now that he's in Spurs, yes, he could make a difference within the Spurs side, although I did see the highlights on Match of the Day last night. And we do have the Europa League to play first, out in Lask, away from home. So I'm hoping we have our injured players back in time because of Virgil van Dijk should be back from his ban. Trent hopefully will have recovered from his hamstring injury. And so obviously Gomez will step out. And we have a very good record against Spurs. It could be interesting, but I don't think they can beat us because we have Diaz, we have Elliott, we have Ben Doak, we have Salah and Nunes. So I think we will be too strong for them as long as we play our best 11. So it could be another 2-1 win. I don't know, but like I said, before Kane went, Spurs were heavily relying on him for the goals. So it's going to be a transitional team to see what the starting 11 will be for that game. So I think we are going to be too strong for Spurs when we play them.
Okay. Well, Mr. B, I'm going to come to you now. I did mention Maddison. And of course, one of the best things about Harry Kane leaving is that Heung-min Son has now come into his own as more of a striker. Now, of course, the guy who Henry doesn't want to name did actually score against Sheffield United. But I wouldn't consider him the finished article by any means as a player. But we have to accept, though, that at least this season under Postecoglou, Spurs are starting to play a little bit better, and his Manager of the Month award is indeed very well deserved. And I think you can agree with me that we should never have brought Kai Havertz. We could have brought someone like Maddison. I think Joanne, our friend, has pretty much said that now that he's at Spurs, his future might be, completely stuffed. Although you never know. I mean,
you never know,
heaven forbid, at our expense, Spurs actually do end up succeeding. But again, that's a story for another day. But you actually played Spurs earlier on this season. I think probably quite unlucky not to have come away with the 3 points, but it was an exciting 2-2 draw. And Static quite confident saying that Arsenal should beat them 2-0, a clean sheet as well. But we've got to play them in the North London derby. How were you able to, play against Tottenham, if you remember that game? And where do you think we can perhaps, take advantage of them in a way?
Well, to start with, Manny, we were actually 1-0 up in that game. So, I actually thought they was going to be there for the taking, Tottenham, I really did. I didn't think they was going to be that great. And to be honest, in that match, I thought we should have beaten them. But I think they've actually got better. I think they got better game by game, and they're sort of improving. Of course, with Maddison there now, that gives them another outlet there, playmaker, to get past through, to put balls through, and everything. They're not a bad team, I mean, they're not they're Spurs of the past that they used to have, the best players there, but. I think they're strong, and I think you should be a bit scared of them in a way because, they're coming good, and are they still above you, aren't they? No, Arsenal above them at the moment, aren't they? I think.
Let me check the table and find out exactly, because obviously with our win today, I mean we've also drawn, but we might be sort of above them on goal difference. No, we are actually below them. For some, I don't know how we're below them, to be honest. Maybe because, I mean, it's goal difference. Yeah, goal difference. Our goal difference is +5. Theirs is +8. So they're in second right now, behind Manchester City. But as we all know, we've seen Spurs start really well and then fall like a stone. I just don't know if it's necessarily going to change. And you do have a point where you say we should be scared. But in addition to Heung-min Son and Vicario, as Central has spoken about. James Maddison, what a purchase he
Start.
has been, how influential he has been. Should we be afraid of him?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean,
Yeah, I think we've got to be careful. Madison's a good player. We've got to mark him very well, stopping creating the chances for Spurs next week.
Mr. B, do you concur?
oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the only thing is obviously they lost their main focus, goal scoring focus of Harry Kane since he's gone. But they replaced that with other players that can sort of chip in with a goal or two. And then, as you see with Kulusevski, he come up with a goal as well. I quite rate him really. I think he's pretty decent. Not the quickest, but he's got ability. So I think they've gotten Bazuma's coming through quite well now. So he had a shaky first season, but he's doing pretty well at the moment. So I think he'll have a good season. So I think there is a bit to fear there. So I don't think it'd be straightforward for Arsenal. I think it'd be 2-2 myself, that match.
Yeah, well, so we got a couple of predictions for a draw, but listen, I'll tell you what, our home court advantage is nothing if not really important, and given that we haven't lost to Tottenham in a North London derby for quite some time, and I will come to you, Henry, I promise you. I'm confident of predicting, a fairly tight a win, even if it might be a little bit tight. Ace is mentioning there that Rice should be able to man Mark Maddison, and Rice is also slotted in quite well. But Henry, is there anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just want to say that I need to leave.
Yeah, we're wrapping it up now. Actually, we're wrapping it up right now. So I'm going to
okay.
get you all to shout your channels out, and I will promise all of you in the chat. Thank you all for joining in, and I know it's just pretty much the same 4 people. I also want to give a huge shout out to Darren and Josh who came in. Darren's social media handle is Darren Sullivan 49 on Instagram. Some excellent reels and pictures from him and his life, and a very passionate Arsenal supporter. Really glad to have him on, whether it's in the chat or coming on. He's always a big contributor to the channel, and good to have him on. And so I think most of us are confident that we should be able to beat Tottenham in the North London derby, but football's a funny old game. You just don't know what can happen. Aces with a final comment. I think we'll end it with this. Tottenham need to change their crest from the cockroach to the kangaroo. Listen, we don't know how long Ange will be there for. We don't know how long Ange will be there for, and I'm sure, as proud an Aussie as he is, he wouldn't want to see that happen. I think he has too much respect for the club for that. But anyway, it's about that time. We're going to shout everyone out. So Central, I'm going to put you in the frame. Tell us where we can find you on YouTube, please.
Okay, you can follow me at Central Man Network on YouTube. I'm on 354 subscribers.
Yeah, you're on 352 the last time I checked, so well done. And how are you enjoying the Rugby World Cup, by the way, son?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. I just during the Arsenal Everton game, I also flipped back and forth between Arsenal, and the rugby game between
Australia and Fiji.
Australia. I thought we're gonna get beat by Argentina after Tom Curry got sent off, but we kind of performed good against Argentina, and can't wait. We're playing Japan tonight.
Yep. Fiji beat Australia, a huge shock. And I think you can agree with me that we got rid of Eddie Jones at the right time. Yeah. But I think you're frozen, but we'll wait for you to come back. Henry, as always, thank you very much for coming on. Tell us how we can keep in touch with you or where we can find you.
Right. My YouTube is Henry Ray Baker channel. At the moment, I have 184 subscribers. I'm on my way to 200. And I also am on my way to 500 videos. So, and that's since December.
Wonderful. Looking forward to catching some of your videos and interacting with you again soon. And Mr. B, I was on the watch along with you for
cheers,
England
mate.
against Scotland. And do please tell us where we can find you on YouTube or social media and what you've got coming up. I know you're not a big fan of the rugby anyway, but
Nah,
just
the egg
tell us.
chasers, mate. I ain't watching the egg chasers, no. But anyway, well, obviously I've got my own channel, as you know, Manny. He was on it the other day, Mr. B, Hiver Football Chat, and that's at Mr. B for Life 182. The address there. Obviously going well. Got plenty of content coming out. Obviously I've got my reaction stream coming out to that poor result yesterday that we had, losing 1-0 to Newcastle. Yeah, I'll talk more about that tomorrow. But also, obviously, I've got more stuff coming out. I've got the history of Brentford to come. I'm hoping to try and get that out this week sometime. And then also on Thursday or Friday, I've got a preview of our game against Everton. We're playing them next, so hopefully going to get what's the name on there? Everton Rose. She's coming on there. Hopefully for the preview, either Thursday or Friday. I mean, sorry about that. But anyway, yeah. So she's coming on then, and so obviously, hopefully, everyone can tune in next week for my content. And thanks again, thanks Manny, and come on you bees.
All right. Thank you all very much indeed for joining in. And once again, a final reminder, Del Boy will be back next week. I'm just happy to fill in for him whenever he can't make it, but it's always Del Boy Gunner TV, not Manny Gunner TV. We're all here, basically to, enjoy his grace, and we can't wait to hear that wonderful lilting Irish accent of his. He's not really on the beers, as Ace has said. He is quite busy with a lot of stuff, but he will be back, and we will welcome him back very soon. But until then, enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a good next week. If you are huge fans of the rugby, it is 13 minutes to kick off between England and the Cherry Blossoms. Swing low, sweet chariot, up the Gunners. And as Del Boy would say, take care. God bless every one of you. And we are out.
What a goal! Side of goal!